Good day, Jackal! In a previous video, I made a simple puzzle-like effect in DaVinci Resolve, and in a follow-up video, I went over different approaches on how to make more realistic puzzle pieces. This time, I'll show you how to make your own puzzle effect using SVG files, so the puzzle pieces can be as complex as you want them to be, and they'll still fit nicely together. I will also provide you with the puzzle piece SVG files and the final template, which you can get on my website. Now let's get digital. So I made my own puzzle pieces. I used Adobe Illustrator to do this. I have two templates. This one has 24 puzzle pieces and this one has 60. But I do have to say, the one with the 60 puzzle pieces was crashing all of the time, so that is why I just used this one, which has 24 puzzle pieces. But if your PC can handle 60 puzzle pieces, then this one can look a lot nicer. And if you'll make your own puzzles in Adobe Illustrator, what I advise you to do is that you save the whole artboard as one SVG file. I did save all of the 60 puzzle pieces individually, but when you import them in DaVinci Resolve, you would have to do a lot of positioning and scaling, so this saves you a lot of time, because each piece will be as you've put it in Adobe Illustrator. And the files that you'll be getting will be puzzle 24, which is this SVG file, and puzzle 60, which will be this SVG file, and the final template, which will be zipped, and when you unzip it, this DRFX file will be inside. And when you double click it, the template will be installed under Generators, jackalldigital, and this will be the puzzle effect. Now when it comes to the effect, it can be put onto a clip. That is what I wanted to do, but this just doesn't work, and it's probably because it's too many puzzle pieces / media ins that I'm using. So it will look something like this. It will be media offline, because you have to actually put a video clip into this template. So you will have to open the inspector. You will see controls, puzzle, and shadows. In the controls, I've typed here drag media clip. So I'll take this media clip, put it in. Currently we see the button clip. So I'll just position the playhead here, and you can see this is how the template will look like. Puzzle pieces fall into place, and when the final piece is at the top right, I've added an animation which then hides all of the lines. Now the puzzle affects this puzzle piece, which is basically just the outline, and you can change the color of it. And the shadow affects the shadow of the falling puzzle pieces into place. And you have a bunch of options that you can use. So now let me show you the first few puzzle pieces, how you will be able to make them. Right click in the media pool, make a new fusion composition, maybe change the duration to 10 seconds, put it onto a timeline, and then go into the fusion page. Let me just show you something. When I put this one in, this one is 5 seconds long, even though the animation is longer than 5 seconds, so we'll simply extend it. And when you put the clip in, it will work as it should. So when I put this clip in, the fusion composition can be as long as the effect. So how you'll also be able to apply this is you use this effect, use the same clip as you use on this effect, overlay it. Maybe you just want to show the animation, so maybe something like this. Cut it to this point. Or just cut it right after here. Something like that. And then we don't want this video clip. Let's use this one. And now you basically have a transition. Just like that. Now let's go into the fusion page and let me show you how to make it. You'll need a video clip. I'll just use one. It doesn't matter which one it is. And now you have to import the pieces. So you'll go to Fusion, import SVG, find the files, and this is the one that is small with 24 pieces. The width and height should be 2560 by 1440. And when you open this group, you will see a lot of nodes. So you can simply ungroup this. But what is important to know is that when you display the last node, which is this one, you will see a black screen. But when you select the polygons, you will see that all of them are positioned where they should be. But you will have some work to do because this path 1 is not this polygon. So I basically adjusted the polygons based on columns. You can go based on rows. So let me do this quickly for one column. So I found the first column. You will have to disconnect the lines. This is where the media in comes in. So when you connect the polygon to the media in, you will have the puzzle pieces separated like this. And that's why I've used an instance of the media in. Now you could make copies like this. It would work inside the template as it is. But when you make a template, you can't set the clip name to be the same actual clip. So that is why instead of just copying the media in and pasting it, I've used paste instance. So now when you make the template, you will just change the clip name of one media in, and all of the instances will also change the name. So they will show the same clip. Then I've used the transfer node. You can now position this as you want, but the center position will be the same. The only thing that I've changed was the size and the angle. This is what I've basically animated. So you can go from frame 10 go to frame 50, put this to 1, put this to 360. So this is the final position. The size can be a bit bigger, so it floats in space. And go to maybe frame 60, keyframe the size, and in 5 frames this will fall back in place. That looks nice. Then all I've done is I've made copies. This time I didn't use instances, I just made copies, connected them like so. Went to the keyframes, now the animation was the same. What you can do before you make all of the copies is adjust the base animations. So in my example, I just went from positive to negative values. So in this case, I would go from positive value to a negative one. So now one puzzle piece will spin in one direction and another one in another. Let me connect this up. So now we have two puzzle pieces moving in one direction and two puzzle pieces in another. But what we want to do is make some adjustments so that all of the puzzle pieces don't move at the same time. I'll leave the first transform as it is. Just remember the positioning. So the first one will be 60. I'll be moving all of the keyframes. I'll put this one to about 90. This one, the center one. Let's see how this looks. Looks a lot better. Now you would just repeat the process for each column. So you'd basically have 6 compositions like this. You could also group this one up. Press F2 and name it column 1. And then you can always come back by double clicking and making some changes. Now what I had to do, if we go to this template, this is basically when you make the final animations, when you have everything in place. As you can see, the first column is the same. So is the second one. Mostly I've changed the inputs. of these two nodes, but this will depend on how you make the animation. I had to make some adjustments down here, and that is basically how I wanted the puzzle pieces to overlap. Now in this example, because I'm testing it, I can also go into this media pool inside the Fusion page and put a clip on. This will also change it, and it's a little bit more visible what I wanted to do. You can simply find the puzzle pieces by clicking on Paths. Because I have the puzzle pieces set up like so, I know which puzzle piece is which. So this one is column 5, third puzzle piece, which is this one. Let's see what happens if I switch the inputs around. As you can see, it is now behind these two puzzle pieces. So that is why I had to move some edges around to get the puzzle piece to be on the top. So when it comes to the animation, I didn't make a lot of changes. I've used the same animation. I just used the keyframes to adjust the animation back and forth. At the end of this composition, I've used the drop shadow node. Shift space to open the tools. Drop shadow, and you'll have the drop shadow here. Then you can select the puzzle piece that you want as a mask. In my case, this was the last one that falls into place. So this is the one that I chose. I made a copy of it. This is the copy. And I've connected it to the last piece of the puzzle. And what I've also done is I've animated this polygon before I copied it. And basically I've just increased the size in this direction down. And once the animation was done, I copied the polygon, I unchecked the solid, and increased the border width. I connected it to an instance of the media in. This takes care of any problem that we would have with resizing, especially when using clips like this one. Now, because we don't have a solid color, as we would have if we just use a background node, and let me just show you what happens if you don't use the media in and you would want to use the background node. So what is the issue? The issue is that it is not in the same resolution as the video. As you can see, we would have to adjust the resolution so that this shape would be in line where this polygon mask is. And to do that automatically, that is why I've done this. Even though changing the color of a polygon is faster with a background node. So I've then simply used the color corrector node. I've disabled some of the options that you can adjust, like the lift, the brightness, and the contrast. I've disabled these options in the template, and I've added a glow. But you can use any other effect that you want. And lastly, I've used the resize node. Again, if I didn't, it looks a bit off. Maybe not in this case. Let's try another clip. It looks okay as well, but just for good measure, resize is always a good option to use, at least in this case. And to make it work, I simply enable keep frame aspect. If you use auto resolution, this is what you'll get. Now, is there anything special when it comes to saving this template? I've basically selected all of the nodes, unchecked the media in, the color corrector, the glow, and the shadow, because these are the nodes that I wanted to change. And then I've selected them in order again, right-clicked, make a new macro. Here DaVinci Resolve can also crash. It did a lot of times for me, so making this template was a bit of a headache. You will then go all the way to the end. If you have selected the nodes as I have done, in the media in, you will click on clip name, change the clip name to what it will say in the label, media clip, so you know what it is. You have the color corrector node. You can also click on it, so you know which options you want to enable. So in here I have hue saturation, basically everything that has to do with the wheel. The hue saturation, I only need the first two values. These are these two sliders for the hue and saturation. And then we have the contrast, gain, lift, gamma, and brightness. And if you remember what you saw, we don't need the contrast, lift and brightness because it makes it look silly. So we just need gamma and gain. Then you have the glow node. In the glow node, I have enabled glow size, glow and blend. I have also enabled the scale, so these options. And lastly, we have the drop shadow, which has these options. So we have shadow strength. I've then simply copied this, shadow angle, shadow distance, shadow blur, and you have to enable all of these colors. Basically, this is the red, green, and blue channel. You will then go to Save as Group, Fusion, Templates, Edit. I did want to save this as an effect. I can save it. I'll show you how this will actually look like. I'll save it as Puzzle Tutorial, and I've used Save as Group. But what you have to do is not go to the Fusion, but save it as a generator. And this is the one that I've shown you in the beginning. So now the difference between the effect and the generator, let's see what it is. So this is the fusion effect. Let's take this clip, put the effect on, and this is the issue with the effect. As you can see, the first puzzle piece is okay, but all of the other puzzle pieces are not okay. So that is why I don't save it as an effect, but you save it as a generator. And so that you don't have all of the options that you've enabled under the controls. In here I have it for puzzles and shadow. What you'll do is you can go back to the macro. I'll select just one node. It doesn't matter which one it is in this case. I just want the path, so I'll make a macro, kind of. I'll copy this path, paste it in, go to Fusion, Templates, Edit. I'll just delete this one. Well, actually I can show you on this one, but I'll put it to the generators. And once you have this, you'll right click, open it in Notepad++ or any other text editor. In this case, we'll make some changes, and the changes that we need to do. Let's go to the template. Actually, we can now use this template, as you can see. Put it onto a timeline. So we now have all of the controls like this. And we can also put a video on. This now fixes it because it's not an effect, it's a generator. As you can see, now we actually see the puzzle pieces. And also we don't have all of these options inside the controls. We can split them up. So at the top we have media in. We want this to be under the controls, so we leave this as is. In the second one, this one is already for the coloring wheel. We'll type here page equals quotation marks and a comma at the end. And between the quotation marks, give a name, but keep the name short. So in this case, I'll just call it puzzle, because this has to do with the final puzzle piece. Well, we can now save this, and once it's saved, this is updated, so I can put it on. And as you can see, now we have the puzzle, and everything is under the puzzle. But now I want the shadow controls to be in a separate tab. And to do that, I'll simply go to the controls where the shadow begins. So we have the shadow here. We'll use a new page equals, comma, and type in shadow. And when I save this, this will be updated. And when I put it on, we now have the puzzle and the shadow controls separated. And again, this may look funky, but once you add a new media clip in, this will look just right. And that's it. If you found the video helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, jackals, keep it digital.